Reserve is expected to announce another round of interest rate hikes tomorrow. This comes amid growing calls for accountability after several banks collapsed earlier this month. That includes First Republic Bank, which is seeing major shifts in its stock price amid a bailout from rival banks. So let's bring in Colby Smith. She's a U.S. economics editor for the Financial Times. Colby, thanks for joining us. You heard us.
Thank you for.
Yeah, really excited to have you. You heard us talking about that. So Jamie Dimon leading all these other major banks, the big banks, the 11 banks, in a potential, not bailout, but a way to prop up First Republic Bank. And then you got this potential Fed decision to raise rates. How do you see it?
So I actually think the thing injecting a bit of confidence here is recent comments from Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who signaled this morning that the government would be potentially willing to step in and support other small lenders who are experiencing deposit flight. So importantly, what we saw over a week ago now was the Treasury, the Fed, and the FDIC stepping in to guarantee depositors of Silicon Valley Bank, which had failed, and then later Signature Bank, which they took control of over, 2 weekends ago. So the fact that Treasury Secretary Yellen is signaling that this is something that they could apply to other banks, I think is a really kind of helpful stabilizer at the current moment. But of course, the headlines about there being some action from other bank executives certainly does help calm the situation to a certain extent and confirm that more is going to be done here in the event it's necessary.
So the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, has always been sort of really transparent about what's coming in the future, right? He leaves like there's a long runway, and somehow once the shoe drops, and I'm mixing my metaphors all over the place, the stock market still goes crazy, right? Even though they know he's going to raise rates. So he's been saying this for a while that, rates are going to continue to go up because he wants to see 2% inflation, and we're well above that. So has he spoken at all in any way since this concern about the banking system? And what is the talk? The expectation is that there's going to be an increase, but is the conversation more about whether or not there's going to be one, or more about just how much it's going to be?
So Chair Powell has, not said anything in terms of the policy outlook. Since the crisis really escalated. What we have heard from him in joint statements with the Treasury Secretary and other government officials is that the banking system does remain resilient. It's important to note that the Fed has stepped in, on 2 occasions here in a really forceful way to stabilize the situation. The first being a lending facility that it announced 2 Sundays ago that basically said, any lender that needs aid here, there's a facility in order for them to funnel that support through. The second one being an increase in the access to so-called dollar liquidity. So just ensuring that the financial system doesn't kind of gum up from the ongoing situation. But in terms of the actual trajectory of monetary policy, we've been in this period called the blackout, where any kind of public communication is limited from Fed officials, and that's led to quite a lot of debate about what exactly the Fed is going to do. I think in terms of expectations, there very well seems to be a majority who think that the Fed is going to plow forward with an interest rate increase, a 1/4 point rate rise this week, and also signal that more interest rate increases are forthcoming. Inflation, as you mentioned, is still far too high, and they have tools to manage financial stability concerns. So in that respect, they can pursue these 2 goals.
All right, Colby Smith, I'm sure you have your hands full. There's a lot going on, more than normal when it comes to the banking world. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you.
Need a credit card but have...
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And I say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a sit down lesson that I want to bring out of this recent news from CBSNews.com. CBS News. This was reported on YouTube, I would say about 48 minutes ago. And it was saying a potential Federal Reserve expected to rise interest rates, amending the bank crisis. Right, because we already know what happened in Silicon Valley, I would say within the last week, a week ago. And then the other banks followed along the effects of the Silicon Valley Bank, and then the Swiss bank over there in Switzerland, Swiss Suzy, I believe, even though they found a way to have a momentarily, immediately, response, rescue money to recover of the amounts that they had lost, and they was able to gain that back. And then the along with the stocks markets has crashed as well too, due to the effects what happened to the bank Suzy over there in Switzerland, and then Silicon Valley Bank, and then right along the rest of the other banks as well too. Now you have a few days later, they was coming up saying that potentially more other banks might feel the effects of the crash as well too. With the recent of the bank crashes, there's been the worst bank crash since 2008. Now, on the other hand, you have the Federal Reserve, Jeremy Powell. I believe they're going to meet on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Because I believe as of last week, they mentioned that there was going to be a Federal Reserve meeting, to see if they're going to increase the interest rates, due to the continual increasing of the inflation. Is keep on continuing to increase right along. So we see what's going to happen on tomorrow when they have this actual meeting. So we're going to see what the announcement of Jeremy Powell from the Federal Reserve is. They going to continue to rise the interest rates, amending the bank crisis that just happened a couple of days ago in this past week as well too. So we'll see how that plays out. Because keep in mind, we've been mentioning this over and over again. The stocks and markets in the stocks exchange, the markets react of what's going on globally, financially, data statistic wise, or what the economic experts, what they're going to announce, especially with the Federal Reserve, to actually see if they're going to raise the interest rates, And the most likely scenario, they definitely going to continue to raise the interest rates, and then to continue to ease the inflation. But even if they do continue to raise the interest rates, the interest rate heights is still, of the inflation is definitely still going to continue to increase. And keep this in mind as well too, the markets kind of react with what's going on the job markets as well too, and all these other companies that follow the leads, definitely with these banks that kind of affect with this banking crisis that happened as of last week and previous days as well too, like the countries of Europe, Asia, and here in the United States as well too. But throughout this week, we're going to see how the banks and markets react of what's going to actually happen on Wednesday or Thursday, once the feds of the Federal Reserve have this actual meeting to see if they're going to continue to raise the interest rates. And if that is, we're going to see how the market's going to react to that, because the markets react globally, financially, data statistic wise, in regards to finances and other many categories as well too, in regards to the finances. So if the market's going to react in a positive way or a negative way, because the market's been good as of lately, because I checked the markets, it's up about like 100 something of the Dow Jones and S&P 500, and the Nasdaq Composite as well too. So we're gonna see what actually gonna happen on Wednesday or Thursday once the Federal Reserve, Jeremy Powell and his associates, if they're gonna continue to raise the interest rates, and we're gonna see what the market's gonna react to that in a negative way or a positive way. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying. I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching his word truthfully and sincerely, and shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And until next time, I will say shalom.